Hello guys and welcome back. Oh, that was a little too much energy. Let's bring it down.
Okay, 1,
2, 3. Hello guys and welcome back to Grief Uncensored this week. I'm Yako.
I'm Julia.
And we're back with episode fucking 2 today.
Why does it sound like that?
I don't know. Something's wrong.
It doesn't sound like last time we were talking. It really doesn't, dude.
Hold on. I think maybe we need to come in closer again.
Okay.
Because it sounds like better. Alright, let me restart this. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1. Action. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Grief Uncensored. Episode 2. We're back.
Episode 2, baby.
Yeah, didn't think we'd make it this far.
That's true.
I know, I'm just kidding. I'm Yako.
I'm Julia.
And here we are back at it again with
Back at
episode 2, talking about some real fucking shit that comes with grief.
Mm-hmm.
First off, we would just want to start off by saying thank you so much for all the support that we received from the episode 1.
It was amazing. It was so hard to film, but it was definitely worth it. We got a lot of messages from you guys, and it really meant so much to us. And even though it was really tragic and
traumatic
and very traumatic, it's not the most fun thing in the world to spill your trauma out on social media for everyone. But even if one person, which I know more than one person, related and found it helpful, it was worth it.
It really was, and hearing all your guys' feedback and responses made it all worth it, so thank you for that, and we'll definitely keep you guys in mind and, appreciate all of the things that you guys have said, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so moving on, this episode is going to be, again, about loss, but it will be about...
Secondary losses.
Exactly.
So, secondary losses is basically when one loss just isn't enough, and it just keeps pouring and pouring and pouring in. When it rains, it pours.
Yes.
So it's not just one loss.
It doesn't end there, like we said in episode 1.
Yes, it does not end there. Like, it's not just the one thing and then your life starts to move on after day 1. No. It is just traumatic. It's traumatic. Okay, and secondary losses can be a lot of things. For us, it was like secondary people. They don't die, but they disappear from your life.
Right. It's like changes in your relationships, your family, your lifestyle, like pretty much all of that accumulating into you disconnecting or losing contact with a lot of people that you used to have. And that really comes with how after you lose someone so tragic or so close to you that impacted your life so heavily, your whole mentality and life values kind of are brought into light and into question. And
exactly.
You may have like a sort of rearranging of priorities and different values that mean more to you now than they did before. And that, the changes don't align with some of the what it was like normal for it. I don't know if that made sense.
So basically, the one loss, right? Let me just describe it this way.
Yeah.
The one loss is the explosion, okay? It's the bomb going off.
Right.
And what is it? Like
the secondary losses.
The secondary losses are
all the trickling effects.
The trickling, okay? It is losing everything else, losing your life, literally. It's really just when there's one big event and then everything starts to be affected by it, and it's all just trickling down into other aspects of your life. Yeah. School, finances, relationships, like friendships. It's really so many different things. It's just all the things that your life is made up of. Loss that significant impacts everything else.
And then also not to mention the loss of like your previous self, who you were before this loss. You're never going to be that person again.
When your whole life is blown up and then you don't just put the pieces back together. No, that's not even true. It's literally just you creating a new life with this loss and with this grief and with all the other changes. So it's not just, it's just a huge change.
It is.
And you lose your sense of self along with your person and friends and boyfriends and could be school, could be a job, like could be your sense of self or your motivation. Like, I mean, obviously that, because we talked about it a lot. But, you know, it's just everything. So, let's get into it.
Talk a little bit more about what that really looks like for us.
The thing about secondary losses is that sometimes it's arguably, like, the worst aspect of losing someone. Because it's just the most painful in the sense that you just feel like it's so unjust that everything is pouring onto you at once.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
you're like, oh, on top of the fact that my fucking mom and dad died, now my best friend is fucking acting up.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
Or like my boyfriend is a fucking dick.
Exactly. Know? It is like you are just looking out into the world and you're like, why is this all happening?
Also, I just want to point out like your patience level to like keep up or maintain this like friendship that you might have been like you might have put up with certain things before, but now your patience is being tested.
Yeah.
And you can't fucking put up with that shit. So that might also be like
that's totally another aspect of it too. I think like if there's stuff in your life that is dysfunctional, the grief is going to out that shit.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to put up with it even more now. Like, you were putting up with it at the bare minimum before, and now there's literally, you are walking on a tightrope.
Yeah. So, in our lives, I think our main secondary losses was, for me, it was a couple friends, losing a couple friends in the process, and then for you, what would you say yours?
Mine was definitely either losing sense of who I was and a relationship ending as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That sense of self, like, it really just
that really fucked me up. I didn't...
It's like the existential crisis plus just who am I and what am I doing?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even realize that so much of my identity was tied with my dad. Like, I had no idea that I took so much of him, and I was like, this is me. And when I lost him, I really felt like I lost a lot of myself, too, because I felt like I had to relearn all these things that I thought I knew about myself, and, you know, it just was like starting over all over again from zero.
Yeah, that is exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
So, the thing is, when any type of hardship comes around, obviously we're talking specifically grief, but, like, this goes for everything else. But when something, like, really big happens in your life, like a loss, a lot of people, I'm not going to say a lot of people, but this is very prominent. It tends to have people running for the fucking hills.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do. There's a lot of people who want to be there for you, and they don't know how, so they say weird stuff. Then there's people who are, like, trying, obviously, but they don't know exactly how to do it, but that's not their fault. And then there's people who just, like, absolutely turn their back on you, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Also, it shows people's, like, true colors and intentions, I think. Like...
That's a huge one.
Yeah, and it could be really, really hurtful. Really, and also eye-opening.
Because it shows, like, what they would do in the worst situation. If you're a bad person in this moment right now, then I don't... You know what I mean? Like...
No, exactly. Like, you have friends, and you have these, like... circle, right? And that's like your support system for when something is going wrong in your life and you're having a bad time. So when something this monumental happens, like you expect everyone to like be there for you and crowd there for you.
Yeah.
But like it is just, I'm so sorry, but that is just not how it is. And if you lost someone, you're listening to this and you didn't like have any of this, I'm shocked.
I just want to say that, of course, every situation's different. There might be people out there who are listening to this podcast who instantly had that crowd, like, you know,
rush, thinking about
have everybody like rushing to them and supporting them. For us,
I don't know.
Wasn't really the situation.
No, but I do hear a lot of people being like, oh yeah, this person let me down and this person was fucked up and my best friend did this and all this. Like I hear it so often.
I want to say for the record that I am very grateful for all the people that I know now in these past 9 months without my dad. I know who my real friends are. I know which one of you guys out there are. So I'm not going to take that away from you because you are, if you know you're a real friend, then you are.
Then you know.
But there are a lot of people that I kind of was a lot closer with that I expected them to like reach out, maybe, you know, hit me up, ask me how I'm doing, and like.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Like, people will maybe send you, like, one text, and then they won't say anything. Like, there was this one person, well, actually, there was not just this one person, but this one person in particular, like, texted me once, and then, like, even though I saw them a couple more times, I literally don't think I ever spoke to you again. I'm like, okay, are we just gonna send one text and it'd be over? Like, that's not it. Anyway, that's gonna be an episode for the future.
Yeah.
Because we want to help non-grievers, like grievers' friends and stuff, like be that friend that we wish we had.
We're gonna teach you guys what we would have wanted in that moment or in these moments.
Exactly.
But yeah, just speaking from my own personal experience, there were, for me, most of my secondary losses came from me recognizing that I'm not the same person that I was before this loss. And that was really like a huge turmoil for a lot of my friendships. Not to say a lot of my friendship, a few of my friendships. You know, we're just not, the values that I have in my life are much more profound and much more deep and not as superficial anymore. I've always been a very deep person who kind of overthinks everything, is always looking for like the deeper meaning and everything. And it can be very fucking annoying to be that person because you're like, why the fuck can't I just enjoy this as it is? No, because I have to be like, oh, well, this is a very meaningful moment in my friendship with you. And like, we have not, you know what I mean? There just has to be like all these things. But that has amplified since my dad has passed. And now I'm more someone who's like, why would I do that if I don't want to do that kind of thing? Before I might have done it because I'm like, oh, like I need to fucking go out or I need, you know, but just like maintain these superficial relationships, all these other reasons that I might have like made up in my head. Now there's really nothing. Like,
totally.
Yeah, I don't have any value in these meaningless things.
Yes, exactly.
You know, in these superficial things. What I care about is definitely more of what does this friendship mean to me? What can you bring me? What are you doing for me?
Totally.
What am I doing for you? Like, if there is none of that, then the relationship is not serving me anymore, you know?
That was absolutely perfectly said. I perfectly said it.
That was like a huge thing for me, and that's like why a lot of my more like, oh, let's just like go out to like have fun and like not really talk about anything. We'll just like fucking fuck around.
I mean, you can like have fun and fuck around with anyone. Like it, you know, like I could literally meet someone tomorrow and we'd have some fun together going out. But like those true friendships, like the ones that you genuinely care about the other person and you're like thinking about them and want to do stuff for them, like those are the most important.
Yeah, and it really shows you the difference between those two. Absolutely.
Also, like, I feel like because of our age, since we're young, like, and we're also just getting out of college, too, so, like, I think that's also a normal time to, like, be figuring out your friends and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this just kind of made it happen as soon as possible, instead of, like, down the road, you're like, oh, maybe I'm going to move away from this group of friends. No, it was literally like, boom, bye. Like,
throw it out the window.
Yeah. So I wanted to say that, for me, I had like so much anger and resentment, which I'm still working through, just from like all these people that I really wanted them to be there for me, and like I just felt like I needed so much more support than I got, and like you were saying earlier, that there's a handful of people who really were there for me and were texting me like several times a week or every day or still checking up on me, like not just the one time. And I do see you guys and I really appreciate you guys and love you guys so much. But then there also was the complete opposite of that. And so I'll just say, like, as an example, right after my mom died, basically, like, consequently of exactly that happening, I lost my two closest friends. Not lost them on earth, but lost them in my life. They were two completely different circumstances, but I just felt so much, it just added to the trauma. And it added to feeling how this situation is so unjust for me. Like, why right now, when it's supposed to be the best time of my life, do I lose my mom and my 2 best friends? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, my life is shattered. And like, before that, I felt like I had a lot of friends. I felt like I was happy. I was thriving. I was about to get a job. No, and then all that shit disappeared. I literally felt like I had no one. And honestly, it was like some unexpected people who were actually there for me. You know, the expected people were not there for me.
Yeah.
So that was really traumatic for me. And there's going to be another episode on anger and resentment, I think, because that shit is like something that really stays with you. And you don't just resent people, you like resent the world too.
Yeah.
For like all this stuff, like, why is this happening?
You resent all the living moms and dads.
Yes.
Like, what did you do to me? Nothing, but I hate that you're...
Why do you get to walk your daughter with your grandma and your mom, but I don't get that?
Yeah, you
like,
fucking old-ass bitch. All right, that was too much. Cut that out.
Yeah, it's like, I'm so angry that you are alive. Like, why do you get to be alive?
Yeah, I mean, that's what fucking Michelle Zauner said in Crying in H Mart. And we'll talk about that in another episode.
But, what was I saying? Yeah, so because of, like, me losing my 2 closest friends and my mom, like, that intersecting, it was just, like I said, that much more traumatic. It was so unfair. But they were, like, still separate at the same time. I don't know, I feel like this goes without saying, but friends, like, should be there for you no matter what, and they should not make your grief about themselves. And that goes for relationships too.
Yeah.
Like, I know you experienced that. Like, this is not about you. This is about me. And I think when someone is trying to make something about themselves, maybe the attention was taking off them, like, immediately that is, like, not a good person. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is something going on there. Like, I'm no mental health specialist, but, like, I would probably steer clear from those people.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. And especially with my ex, I found that once my dad passed and I was kind of pulling away from him because I didn't know how this man that I met, like, 5 months ago is going to come for me through all of this. He kind of took it very personally and made it about him, like I mentioned in the last episode very briefly. But it was just like an ongoing situation where I was constantly fucking comforting him, and I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, oh, I just feel like you're not really into it. I'm like, bitch, my dad just fucking died.
Oh my
like,
God.
I'm sorry. I'm not that into it. I'm not that into living right now. So sorry that I'm not that into this relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you're really making it about yourself.
Yeah, and also, I realized that after my dad passed, how much I was really, like, doing to, like, make this relationship work and what it takes to make a relationship. I realized how much effort went into it, making sure that he's fine, making sure I'm fine, making sure he's not mad at me, making sure he's happy, blah, 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 blah. But all that shit is exhausting, and when you're trying to make sure you're okay, like, and I've always been trying to make sure I'm okay. Like, I've been depressed for fucking God knows how long before my dad passed.
Yeah.
But it became significantly harder, times, like, 50, once my dad passed. Like, on another level. I'm not saying this in a way that... Before, I was depressed and I was trying to fight this existential dread on a more of a... Oh, yeah, like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I still don't. But now it's like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and my dad's dead.
Yes. Oh, my God. Dude, you are literally spitting the facts today. Yeah, I mean, okay, so another point is that, I think I mentioned this earlier, like, it just brings out the worst in people sometimes. I mean, no, it actually brings out the true side of people. And sometimes that is a horrible, very worst side. And people do, like, really fucked up stuff. Do you? Like, I've heard so many stories, and I related so hard to them, because I'm like, damn, like, people just showed their true colors. And sometimes it is, like, their behavior is, like, horrifying. And they hurt you so, so bad. I'm going to tell my example because I think a lot of people can relate to it. I had this one friend, when I was mentioning I lost 2 of my friends, one of them just let me down in a way that I could not even explain in words. And at the time when it was happening, I couldn't even bear the thought that this was happening to me and this was going on at the same time. I'm not even gonna say at the same time. It was because of the fact that my mom died. This person saw that I was down and used it to honestly kick me when I was down and make it worse for me. And grief has this way of like exposing the fakes. And I think that was really clear to me at that time, that I never really had a friend. Like this whole time, this person was an enemy disguised as a friend. But this person honestly made my trauma so much deeper than it needed to be. And if you can relate, I am so sorry. Because you only deserve people like loving you and wrapping you up in love and respect and empathy. And that is just not what I got from my closest friend at the time. She was harassing me, saying horrible things about my family. She called all our mutual friends, and
that's the part that gets me. Like, why are you?
This is like the worst part was that there was like some fights about rent and stuff that should not have even been a discussion, but yet this was like just piling on that it should not have been that way. But yeah, that was definitely the worst part. Like literally the same night that she found out that my mom died, she was calling everyone. Like I swear it was everyone she possibly could have known that also knows me or our mutual friends, and was just creating false narratives. Like literally, what's the word? She was isolating me further from all those people that I needed. And mind you, she was like calling them, talking about some like fight that we were having that wasn't really, should have been dropped. That's another main thing. When you are grieving and you have a friend that's grieving, like maybe don't start with all this other small stuff that you were dealing with, like behind the scenes. Like when their person dies, like maybe you should put that aside. Like definitely rule number one, like don't bring up all this stuff. Like
do you remember?
Be there for them because of this, and like if you're in a fight, like drop that shit and be there for your friend. And if you're not, like that's not a friend. That's just over.
I agree. I 100% agree.
So yeah, this person is like completely manipulated all of these people, all of our friends. I mean, I saw it happening in front of my face, and I had no energy to even try and fight for these people to be there for me. Like, what am I supposed? I'm literally sitting there on the couch debilitated every single day. I have absolutely no energy to. Well, how am I gonna beg these people to love me and support me now? I honestly cannot explain why somebody would do this. I really can't. But this goes without saying that these people are like feeding their own ego in that way, where
absolutely.
This grief is about you, but instead they had to somehow play the victim and make it about themselves. And that is just a very, very, I don't know.
Telling.
It's very telling, and I don't know, seems a little narcissistic. I don't like to say that because I don't, like, I'm not a mental health professional, again, but that is just some patterns that I've seen. Honestly, let me just say this. If this story that I just told reminds you of something that happened to you, I really want you to know that these people's actions when they hurt you and they really just betray you at the absolute worst time in your life, this is not a reflection of you and what you deserve. This is a reflection of themselves, how they're treating you. It is a reflection of how they feel about themselves inside. And it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with you or your character, and you absolutely do not deserve that. My mom, growing up, and still, like, I swear, every month she would remind me, anytime I had any, like, problems with friends, she'd be like, oh, well, not just friends, everyone, even boyfriends too. Like, you can judge someone based on their pattern of behavior. So, like, if the best thing to try and tell what someone's going to do in the future is to look at their past. And honestly, that is just reminding me of what my mom used to tell me all the time. Look at people's pattern of behavior and it will tell you exactly who they are.
Yeah. That just got me thinking even too. Like I was just like, I mean, that is such a common thing, is that you expect people to, you know, just be there for you on a level, and that is another situation in itself where they don't even meet that expectation, but they go the opposite direction and like kind of fucking do exactly what you don't want them to do.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
like,
fucking
wow, you're making it worse.
turn all your friends against you. Like,
I know.
okay, fucking.
It's like there's one type of person who's like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything. And then there's a person who takes deliberate action to make it worse for you.
Yeah. For me, a lot of the situations are just me kind of distancing myself and separating myself from these friendships and making them a little bit more like secondary friendships rather than like primary friendships, because of the fact that our values have changed, or just something has happened where it rubbed me the wrong way after. Like, for example, one of my friends, after my dad passed, she didn't hit me up at all, and she just kind of like she sent me a Snapchat story that she sent to like everyone else. And she was like, just got a new job. And it was like a cute selfie of her at this job. And I was like, bitch, I don't give a fuck about your job. I don't give a fuck.
Like, why?
I don't give a
like,
fuck.
Not care. They're like just obsessed with what they're doing. They really don't care about you. Wow.
And they were like, oh, sorry, I didn't see your Instagram. I see you on my fucking story views, bitch. Who you lying to right now? Anyway, these things really piss me off, like, right when they happened, right? You know, months later, where I'm like in a better place, or in a place where I'm like mentally a little bit more stable and able to handle these fucking other stupid hardships, I was like, you know what? Maybe I overreacted. Maybe she didn't see my story like that. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt, and I'll be like, I'm sorry I overreacted. But ultimately, it's something that you peep, and you're like, going forward, you're not gonna be that person that I call. Like, we can be friends. Yeah.
Yes. People, you deserve to set boundaries with people who let you down, okay? I'm not saying cut everybody out of your life if they didn't. No. You can keep those people, because the last thing you need to do is literally cut everybody off.
Yeah, and lose everyone.
If they deserve to get cut off, then yes, you also deserve to set a boundary there. Like, if you're not comfortable with them, if they hurt you very much, or if you don't feel safe with them, yeah, don't need that person. But if it's just a friend that, you know, is on the line, we also do know that sometimes you don't know what to say to this person. Like, something so terrible happened to you, you know. Like, before this happened to me, like, and this happened to my friend, I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, I wouldn't do terrible things to them, but I would, like, be there for them as much as I could. I would not say all the right things. And we acknowledge that, and that's why we're not just like, oh, no, fuck everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
But you do deserve to set those boundaries with the people who were not there for you.
Yeah. A huge thing is that it is going to shift your friendships, and the people that you think now like are your best friend, in a few months they might not be. You know, they barely texted you, and the people that you kind of didn't expect to like care for you even more than your fucking best friend did, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Right.
But it just, that's what we mean when we say that it shows like the true colors of the person that you're dealing with. Yeah,
these secondary losses are pretty much inevitable, and if you're lucky enough not to lose anyone in your life, and you already like had that amazing support group, like, hell yeah, I'm so happy for you. There could be other secondary losses, like the loss of your family structure, the loss of, maybe you had some financial hardships after that, like, you know, yourself, you know, you don't know what to do without this person.
Yeah.
So we don't have any specific examples for that, because that's not what happened to us. But that's not to say those things are less. Those are just as heartbreaking, and like I keep saying, adds to the trauma, makes the trauma worse, builds it and builds it and builds it. And that's why I said in last episode, like, it's not just the occurrence of the death that is so traumatic. It is everything that piles on top of it and everything that comes after. And you just keep looking up at the sky and you're like, why, God? Why?
For me, a huge secondary loss that we kind of talked about, but I want to get more into, is the relationship. Basically, when I was dating this man, it was going well until it wasn't, you know? It was going well, and then there were just little things in our relationship that I'd be like, maybe not. I just had the patience to put up with them and to like talk it out, sit there, work in the relationship. I was willing to put that work in the relationship because I had the energy to put in the work. But after my dad passed, I was like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have the energy to put in what I would put in to make this relationship work. And if you're okay with that, we can stay together. But if you're not, then we should break up. And that's what I said to him right when my dad broke up. And he was like he was really understanding of that. He was like, I get it. Absolutely. Let's stay together because I get it and I'm here for you. He did not get it. When I say this man didn't get it, let me just say, right when I got home from Japan, 1 month trip, I described in detail what happened last episode. But right when I get back from this trip, I'm like, let's go to a massage. I treat this man to a massage. I guess he was like waiting for me in the car for 20 minutes, even though he didn't text me that he was even here. And then I go to the car and I'm like, you were here? And he was like, yeah, I've been waiting for 20 minutes. Meanwhile, and he's just giving me such a passive aggressive like attitude the whole way to the massage. Just acting like a dick. And I'm like, what is wrong? I know it's because I had you waiting for 20 minutes. And he's like, yeah, I just like wish you would have told me. I'm like, this is the fucking first day I've been home. And this is just, I'm telling this story now to just exemplify, like, this is the kind of shit that I had to put up with from this point on forward. I'm like, bro, I just got back today. Like, what do you mean? But that just goes to show that he really will put anything... He put himself first again. Like, now he's upset that he had to wait outside the house for 20 minutes. Meanwhile, I just came back from the most traumatic trip of my life. Like,
this is literally the most selfish shit I've ever heard in my whole life.
Yeah, it was just repeated behavior like that, and I was just like trying my best to like comfort him still, and I'm sure he was doing his best to comfort me, but he just didn't know how, and it just really showed, and that's really what led to our relationship breaking up. Our relationship ending, and, you know, it really did take a toll on me because I spent so much time with him. I spent, like, every day with this man, you know? So it did take a huge toll on me, and I did lose a job because, like, I worked with him, and he was like, oh, I don't think I can see you there if we break up. So he had me quit the job. I mean, it really wasn't like he forced me, but he was like, I can't see you there.
So you not only lost him and your job. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you didn't only just lose your dad, then you lost him and your job. It's
exactly.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So that
and if your dad didn't die, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe eventually one day.
Maybe eventually, but
maybe a little
not the way it did. Mm-hmm. And the way it happened really it was really hard to get over. But ultimately, one thing that I'm really glad about is the fact that it did happen, because now I'm not, one, with him, and two, because I'm not with him, I'm able to focus on myself and fucking put myself first and my grieving first, and
totally.
That's something I'm really grateful for having.
You don't need any, like, people who are distracting you from what you need to think about.
Yeah, and I'm sure the same for you a little bit, too. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously it was, like, really building up a lot of anger and resentment for these people, and, like, focusing on a situation that was ultimately extremely negative.
Yeah, I mean, actually reminds me when you just say that, is that I had only the grief to deal with, and then I also had that anger. So, like, I had anger for other things, like at the universe for having this happen, at the truck driver, you know, at all these things that I could blame, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. So the anger was already there, but then when there's, like, more people and things to be angry about or to resent, like, that makes grieving harder. Right. And it almost wants me to say, like, grief doesn't have to be that hard. Like, that didn't have to happen. Like, your boyfriend did not have to be a dick. My friend did not have to do all that horrible things to me. Like, grieving could have just been grieving my mom died. But no, it has to be all these other secondary losses, you know?
Yeah. But it always is gonna have all those other secondary losses. Like I genuinely feel like that is inevitable because once that happens, you're gonna have this change in self, change in priorities, and that is gonna lead to the secondary losses, regardless of how bad they might be. Or I mean, there's this whole spectrum to everything, but yeah, I think everybody experiences
you're totally right.
some form of secondary loss. You know?
You're totally right.
Yeah, and I do think in any situation it's not easy. Obviously, for us, it was like the blatant disrespect and not necessary at all. But for other people, it's not as like black and white. It's kind of like in a gray area, which makes it in a way a little bit more difficult to like analyze and really like see for as it is, kind of. Yeah. I just want to say that, yeah, grief. I just want to say that.
Come up with a good ending quote. Yeah. You deserve people around you who are going to be there for you 100% and not be making it worse for you. I mean, that's literally the opposite of that you need. Making it worse for you? Like, no, absolutely not. Yeah. Out, get out.
And we recognize that, your change in priorities and your change in values are going to change your values in your relationships. And that is completely normal. It might feel like detrimental to your life because it's not easy to go through those losses on top of a fucking terrible loss already. However, these losses will actually bring you up.
Okay, we're not trying to say that there's a silver lining. However,
but
these secondary losses are making it clear as to maybe some changes that you needed in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And I literally gag hearing myself say that, because if you were to tell me that 9 months ago, I would have been like, shut the fuck up. Like, this shit did not need to happen. And it didn't. It really didn't. But looking back now that I've totally calmed down from the situation and I'm like reflecting on it, I'm so happy that I have clarity that in my friendships and in my relationships that I know and confidently can say who my friends are and what they mean to me and what I mean to them.
I think also another great point to mention is just the fact that everything comes and goes, There's going to be people in your life, or there's going to be things in life, jobs, events, whatever. They're going to come in and they're going to leave when they have to leave, Not everything is meant to stay in your life forever. That's really fucked up to say on a grief podcast.
We're not talking about the death. We're not talking about the death.
Talking about the death,
secondary loss.
But I'm talking...
Yeah.
But yeah, some people are meant to be in your life just for a short little while. Yes. And it's probably fucking better for them because they're stunting your growth or they're staying here and you're not. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that you've outgrown these friends, places, events, and
it hurts, and I'm really, really sorry if that happened to you.
Yeah, it's a growing pain.
It is so painful, but if you're going through that right now, I promise that there is light at the end of the tunnel for the secondary losses. Again, not
for the secondary loss. Yeah, but that's going to wrap everything up for secondary losses for our second episode. Thank you guys again for listening. This one was a little bit shorter, and...
Thank you. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Yep. Oh, fuck. All right. Bye, guys. Love you.
Thanks.
Thank you.